Don't worry, buddy. That's also fantastic. Good job for being in last place. Phil is the worst fantasy football name ever, and it's awful. Oh, I'm a skeleton with guns. Dude, come on. You can do better. I mean, what the fuck? What's up, faux reelers? We are back with the Ross Report for Week 8. We're going to take a couple minutes to kind of catch up. I took last week off, so there was no Ross Report last week. Had a lot of trades we want to discuss. So we're going to jump into those. We'll look at what happened Week 8 and then kind of focus on what's going to happen Week 9 and look at the future. So, big conversation we're going to have today, and it's going to be interesting. So let's start with the trades. And the biggest thing I want to take away from this conversation is the word integrity. One thing you'll never hear me say as we discuss these trades is that someone broke a rule or that it wasn't a legal trade. Everything they did was legal. I just don't necessarily think there was integrity involved, and I'll dive into that a bit more. So the trades, everyone knows what happened. Long story short, Hubba acquired Justin Jefferson for a 1. It's a crazy offer, a crazy deal. As much as I think Tyler is a fucking pussy for mailing it in this early, you can't give up. You can't turn down a number 1 pick. You just can't. Jeff moved half his team. He moved Baker, QB1. That was a completely, I think, fair trade on both sides. I gave up Brock Bowers, which I hated to do, but I had Njoku with Jameis Winston is going to be okay. And I picked up QB1. Part of his deal was he got Jordan Love, also picked up Derrick Henry for a 2. So, again, he picked up these big names, but both Jeff and Hub paid a fair price. Well, in my case, they overpaid, in my opinion, which makes it fair. So, although Tyler is a complete bitch for tanking, we all know that. At least he didn't fucking sell the whole league out for nothing. Strawser, on the other hand, that's exactly what he did. First of all, Strawser is in the playoffs. We have the same record. We're both tied for the last playoff spot. And instead of standing around and fighting it out, he completely folded. He pushed out. Beyond that, he made the guy in front of him significantly better and got nothing. Like, it wasn't Tyler took the deal because it was Jeff overpaid. Hubba overpaid. You have to take that deal. As much as you're a pussy for doing it, you have to do it. Strawser literally got nothing. He picked up a 5th-round pick for Pakua. It's a nothing. That's a bad trade if you weren't tanking. So you were tanking and made a horrible deal. It's fucking awful. So let's talk integrity. Jeff nailed it when he put it in the group chat about how Tyler did it. As much as I think Tyler completely bitched out, pulled a pussy move by giving up so soon, at least he made his intentions known to the entire league and had the entire league had the option to decide if they wanted to jump in on the negotiations, whether they were, too rich for your blood or not. At least you knew what was going on and you weren't blindsided. On the other hand, Strawser didn't do that. Niall didn't do that, and Tim. They didn't do that. They didn't announce to the league what they were doing, and they didn't contact me. I have the exact same record as Strawser, and if you look at our roster, easily a better roster with a lot of trade potential there. Didn't contact me at all. So that tells me one of two things. I won't use the word. Paul already used it. Collusion. I'm not saying there's collusion. I am saying that one of two things happened. Two best friends got together and made a deal that helped one out more than the other. Or Niall and Tim took advantage of a significantly inferior player. One of those two things happened. I'm not sure which it is. I know what I think it is. But one of those two things happened. So I would love for Niall and Tim to hop on next week and explain to me what it was. Was it collusion? Which, with the background that team's had in the past in this league, it's a tough word to hear. They've heard it before. We all know the stories. Or did they just literally take advantage of a just inferior player? And does that show integrity? So those are the trades. Those are the big things that happened. And now let's take a look at the results. Now, and now in Tim's, in fairness, it just happened. So it hasn't played out yet. So they got no benefit last week from it. So the big trades between Jeff and Hub was funny because they played each other. And, it really wasn't close. And again, that goes back to the thing with Hubba is Hubba completely overpaid. He didn't have to. I mean, he's got a solid team. He's in first place for a reason. He added Justin Jefferson, which completely unnecessary to win the division, I believe. I think that, Niall and Tim will give him a run for his money, but I do think Hubba was definitely the favorite to win the division anyways. And probably, him and Al would be the two. I mean, I know Phil's got a great record too, but I mean, look at the points. It's Hubba and Al. Those are the two best teams in the league currently. I don't think Hubba had to do it, but he did. But at least he overpaid. He didn't send Tyler a fucking fifth for a top 5 receiver, which is exactly what fucking Strawser accepted. So, but head to head. So we'll start in the South since I'm talking about it. So last week, let's hop into week 8 here. Look at the matchups. Talk about the results of the trades. All right, the first game again. We'll hop on to Jeff and Hubba, and it was close. I mean, it didn't look that way, but Jeff made it a game, and I think Jeff mentioned in the group chat had he kept Baker, he would have won. So that tells me what Jeff did made sense. I still think he paid a lot for it, but at least you can see improvement in his team to the point where if he would have just kept Baker or got 30 points from his quarterback, which with Jordan Love's not impossible. He beats Hubba, who is one of the top 2 teams in the league, and makes a statement about what he's going to do in the North. But I still think even though he lost by just under 20, or was it? Yeah, he lost by 18. But he definitely made a statement that even with his quarterback, he put up 120 with his quarterback scoring 6. So that tells me Jeff's team is dangerous. Just funny timing that they both made these huge deals, and Hubba got the biggest benefit. Looking at the matchups though. Hubba's team put up 140, but they didn't really perform that well, top to bottom. That's what's scary. DJ Moore had 4. Only 6 points from Aubrey, which is like a third of what he normally scores. And they only got 5 from defense, which Hubba all year has kind of been getting love from his defense every week, close to double digits every week, I believe. So I'd say Hubba's team didn't play at its best, but still put 140, which should really put the league on notice. And on Jeff's side, again, it was there to win. Jordan Love just didn't show up. You gave up Baker, so that tells me Jeff is going to make a statement. He made a statement in the North, and that come playoff time, that's going to be a guy you're not going to be excited to play. I mean, you look at his team top to bottom, it's very, very interesting. Let's stay up in the North. Actually, it's North-South, so it doesn't matter. We're still doing North-South. We'll talk about my game. So it was me and Phil. I made the move for Baker. Again, I gave up Brock, which, definitely didn't want to, but I needed the quarterback. My team every week putting up less than 10 points from your quarterbacks, just awful. So I made the move. Baker gave me 30 plus, but the rest of my team didn't show up. Amari Cooper, less than a point. Devontae Adams was okay, 7 points. Breece Hall, Mr. Roller Coaster, 9 points. A big game from Kamara, and Njoku is going to be tight end 1 by the end of the year, I think, just because of him and Jameis. So I'm okay with the tight end position, but my biggest thing is I started Javonte Williams over Ramondre Stevens. That cost me about 20 points. I lost by 22, 27. So had I made the right plays, I'd have got there, but I didn't. Phil's team showed up as usual. Phil's team is solid. I don't think he's the best team in the North, but he's up there. And I do think, Jahmyr Gibbs is just huge and just breaking long runs. And then, again, comeback player of the year, in my opinion, is J.K. Dobbins. And Phil picked him up, I believe, in the 9th round. So it's a great keeper for Phil. But, another 15-point week from J.K. If he's getting 30 points from his running backs every week, Phil's going to be a tough out. All right, what else do we got here? Let's go back here. Matchups. Well, let's talk about Strawser and Al. I mean, he hadn't made the trade yet, so it wouldn't have mattered. But Strawser scored 81 points. Man, that's bad. He scored 81 points, and Pakua was on the bench for 15. So, Al put up 134. Beat him by almost 50 points, 55 points really. So it was never going to be close. Strawser's season is over. He's given up. There's not much to talk about. There's nothing Strawser could have done to win this game. There's nothing he's going to do the rest of the year that's going to help him win. I hope he shows up to play again next year. The trades are still, because remember, you make these deals and these trades on these picks, they are voided. So if Hubba doesn't show up, Tyler gets nothing. And, vice versa. If Jeff don't show up next year, which I know both will show up. And same thing. I'm confident Strawser will show up. I don't think he's smart enough to not, which is, again, goes back to my point. Was it collusion or was it taking advantage of an inferior player? Strawser will show up next year, I'm sure, because he's a glutton for punishment, like most of us are. But the game wasn't close. It was never going to be close. So that's what happened to Strawser last week. All right. Big game for me. I needed Mike. I need Mike again this week, but Mike was going against Daryl. So Daryl's in third, I'm in fourth. So I really needed Mike to show up. And Mike's team didn't play horrible. I mean, put up over 100 points. And in this time of year at bye weeks, 100 points usually gets you right there. He lost by 8, though. The biggest thing for him is he left. He had the tight end for the Buccaneers, Otten, on the bench, which gave him 24. But he had Kelsey, too. But if you'd have put him at the flex, I'm sorry, where's that at? If you'd have put him in the flex, Mike would have won the game. But, again, he had – I don't know how you can – I don't know that you would have known better. He had St. Brown in the flex, but you probably could have moved things around and got lucky, but it wouldn't have really mattered. Mike would have had to make the play of the year to play that tight end over St. Brown. But neither quarterbacks in this game really did a ton. 15 points each basically for Stroud and Burrow. But 20 points from Kelsey, so Kelsey's biggest game for Mike. But overall, 21 from Kittle, so that kind of cancels out Kelsey. 14 from Connor, 14 from Tony Pollard. And then, other than that, it was a close game. So Daryl did win by 8. Not a ton of things to talk about there. Good close game. But, Mike, I need you next week, buddy. All right. Down to the other brother game here. We got Paul and Niall. Close game. And Paul, for all the shit I've given him, he's not the worst team in the league anymore. And I'm man enough to admit that. But he's still in last place. And it would have been great if he pulled this one out against Niall, mostly for me. But very close game. You got 20 from Marvin Harrison, which is Marvin's good enough to give you 20 every game. It's just that Kyler Murray isn't. He runs a lot, runs around, just kind of chucks it up and down. So Kyler Murray's the problem. It's not that Kyler's horrible. He's not a great quarterback, but fantasy-wise, he puts up points. But you can't count on him to kind of really fire it to Harrison, even though Harrison's clearly their best weapon. Looking at the matchups, the biggest difference here is, the running back love. So Paul had Chase Brown and Zeke starting for a total of 20 points. Now I got 25 from Josh Jacobs. So that right there kind of tells you the difference. Niall overall, his team played pretty well. I will give him credit, the Swift pickup, which I know that kind of haunts Jeff a little bit, but the Swift pick has been huge, especially last couple of weeks. So playing him in the flex has been good for Niall. So a good find there for Niall and Tim. But 25 from Jacobs, 15 from Scary Terry, which that's going to be consistent with Jaden Daniels. Also another player taken in the 9th round. So 9th round was hot this year. Jaden Daniels, J.K. Dobbins. That was interesting. I was looking at that today. So on the bench, though, I don't think there's much Paul could have done if he'd have swapped some things around, maybe a little bit. But, if you play that game, really Jaden Daniels and Josh Allen put up the same amount of points. So, there's really not a ton of things that could have changed if you messed around. Maybe if you start, Shakir. Not really. You could put him in the flex, but then Pickens. And that's the other thing is Pickens got hosed on that. And I hate Pickens and I hate the Steelers. But all right, let's say I break my foot. I plant, I cut, I break my foot, so I'm kind of hobbling. But I catch the ball at like the 30-yard line. And somehow I just hop on one foot from the 30-yard line all the way into the end zone. That's not a touchdown because I didn't get 2 feet in, even though I hopped 30 fucking times. So that's a crazy rule. Got to change it. But one of those 2 touchdowns gives Paulie the victory. So shout out to Paul for, I mean, again, still in last place. So let's not get super ahead of ourselves. But the games were a lot more competitive than they were. Ja'Marr Chase is balling out. So shout out to Paul. You're still, right there in the playoffs. You and Mike are going to be battling for that last spot. And Jeff. But I think Jeff's gonna kind of jump up and overtake Eric, and it's going to be down to you and Mike for that last spot. So. Yeah, kudos to Paul for fighting his way out of the basement a little bit. We're still technically in the basement. All right, let's see who else do we got here. Why don't we talk about Tyler and Eric? And Tyler is completely out. He sold his team away. Diggs is now out for the year, which is one of those things. It's like it's good that it happened now because Tyler is going to give him away for a 3rd or a 4th or something here in a couple of weeks. So that actually helps the league out quite a bit. But looking at the matchups, lost by 8. So Eric, I think, won 4 straight. Got 37 from Jalen Hurts. So that's the biggest difference. Is Sam Darnold only gave you 22, 37 from Jalen Hurts. It's an 8-point victory. So right there's the biggest difference. Other than that, it was actually pretty even down the board here. I will say, though, Tyler had Tracy, the backup running back for the Giants, on the bench, scored 22. And over the last 2 weeks, I think you'd be surprised to know who wide receiver 1 is over the last 2 weeks. Well, he was on Tyler's bench. It's Sid Tillman. So had he played those 2, Tyler gets a big dub even after selling away his team. So, we'll see if Tyler it's going to be funny if Tyler kind of goes on a little bit of a run and, that way he gets back into it and gets excited and still misses the playoffs. It'll be fun for everybody. But, he had it there. Again, you start Tillman, you win. But overall, looking at Eric's team, I mean, they really didn't do shit, nothing crazy. I mean, Jalen Hurts put up 40% of your points. Nothing from Drake London. Decent game from Neighbors. 12 points total from your running back. So very beatable, but Tyler just couldn't get it done. And I think that was all the matchups there for week 8. So let's take a look at week 9. See who we got this week. So we'll start with me. I need a win. I'm favored to lose. Actually, take that back. Yahoo's got me a 1-point favorite all of a sudden. So it's me versus Al. Matchup wise, I got to decide what I'm doing at quarterback. I love Baker. He is QB1. Stafford looked really good last week. He's got all his weapons back. So, I got to make a decision on that, but it's going to be close either way as far as my quarterback play. One of the 2 receivers has to show up for me, either Cooper or Devontae Adams. One of the 2 have to show up big for me. I'm talking 15-plus points. I don't know that I'm going to keep Cooper in the lineup just because I got some options on the bench. But the other side here, I mean, I need a game from Kyler Murray where he's one of his streaky games where he doesn't do as well. Other than that, I like my matchups. Devontae Smith had a pretty decent game last week, but I'm not really scared about that. Now Saquon going against Jacksonville, that's probably not good for me. A-Chain and Buffalo, that shouldn't be a horrible matchup. And his flex is Kareem Hunt, and I'll have Ramondre in there. So I love my play on the flex more. So it's probably going to come down to kickers, which Al hates. But Yahoo has me favored. I agree with Yahoo. I think I'll win. So give me the Ogre -6. All right. Let's see who's next. So another big game for me. So as far as playoffs, I need Daryl to lose one, and I need to win one. With me playing Al, I just need Daryl to lose because the Al game is going to be tough, and he's playing Jeff. Jeff's ready to make that statement again. Yahoo agrees that Jeff, and he's only an 8-point favorite, but I think Jeff wins by 15 plus. Just the matchups. The biggest thing for Jeff is as of right now, he's starting Dak Prescott, which is the only thing that scares me. And I only say that because I had Dak for the first 5 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it was, and I fucking hated him. He's also got CeeDee Lamb, so there's the connection. So I understand why it's hard to not play Dak Prescott, and Jordan Love's questionable, so you almost have to, I guess. But That's the only thing about this game that scares me. If you get 15 to 20 from Dak, I think you blow him out. Looking at the matchups, Stroud's playing the Jets. Their D's normally pretty good. Last week it looked like shit, but we'll see what happens. But Zay Flowers has been playing big. CD Lamb, again, it's all up to Dak. But you got Cook and Henry. I love those matchups over Tony Pollard. And Kyren Williams does put up a ton of points, but I will take Jeff's running backs for sure. So mostly because I need it. Yahoo has him as an 8-point favorite. I'm going to agree and say Jeff -8. All right. Next game here. Another big game for me. It was, again, I need Mike to win. I told you that earlier. So it's Mike and Niall. Yahoo thinks it's going to be close. Now is a 5-point favorite. Looking at the matchups, it's going to come down to, can Joe Burrow keep up with Josh Allen? Because I really do think matchup-wise, Mike's team's not that far off. But, everyone knows how I feel about Joe Burrow. I think he's kind of fake news. Was he offensive player of the week last week? No, it was Jameis Winston. So that's going to be the thing for Mike is can Burrow keep up with Josh Allen? And matchup-wise, they both got not great teams. They got Dolphins and Raiders, so it could be a shootout as far as quarterback versus quarterback. Looking at the rest of the matchups, that Pakua is a big pickup for Niall. That gives him Scary Terry and Pakua. Then he's also got, DeAndre in the flex, which is an interesting play. Hopkins now first game with the Chiefs. That's going to be fun to see. Yahoo doesn't think he's going to score a ton, but I think the potential's there. But looking at the other parts of the matchup with Evans out, unfortunately, it's going to be up to Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to have to outscore Josh Allen by 10 points for Mike to win this game. And that's what I think is going to happen because I need it. So I will take Mike -1.5. It's going to be very close, but I will take Mike because I really want him to win. All right. Phil Tyler, when you fucking tank and give up, you get no love. So we're not even going to discuss his team. Phil's going to win. Right now he's favored to win by 30. That's going to be an easy. Smash the cover on that one. Phil by 30, easy. Let's talk about the matchups. Fuck Tyler. He's a fucking quitter. And Phil starting Joe Flacco. This game is over. All right, moving on down to another game that really doesn't matter. It matters for Eric because he needs to keep that streak going. But again, when you just fucking give up, especially when you do it in the way you did it, you get no fucking love on the cast here. So you got Eric versus Strawser. Strawser's given up. His team's ass. It was ass before. So Eric's only favored to win by like 13. He'll probably win by 72. So looking at the matchups, it really is, all jokes aside, it's probably going to be ugly. Jalen Hurts is going to outscore Pat Mahomes. I love Neighbors. It's going to be a fun one against the Commanders. So I like to see, that's going to be a fun game to watch. Drake London against Dallas. But yeah, Eric's team's going to completely, even Tyreek Hill's got a chance to, with Tua being back. So, all jokes aside, I don't want to talk about Strawser's team a ton because he gave up. But the matchups just aren't there anyways. So, Eric should win pretty big on this one. And then last game of the week, and it's an interesting game, and I love the matchup on this one. So it's Hubba versus Paul, which is always fun. It's Hubba right after getting the big trade, after the big win last week. But I really like the matchup for Paul. Right now, Yahoo's got him as a 23-point favorite, a 23-point dog. So Paul is a 23-point dog. But Jared Goff is playing out of his mind. Jamar Chase has been on fire. Marvin Harrison, if he could just get another big game, that's going to be the difference. Chase Brown has essentially taken over as the starting running back for the Bengals. So when you're looking at the matchups, Chase Brown and Dowdle over, Bijan Robinson and Mixon, you would say no. But when you're looking at the matchups, against the Raiders and, against the Falcons, I think there's potential. So I would love to pick Paul in this game. I will say Hubba's going to win. I don't think it's going to be by 23. I will say Hubba minus about 8, but it will be close. But matchup wise, Paul's got a shot, and I'm really rooting for you, buddy. Especially with me needing Hubba to lose. So, and that would be fucking great to go out and give up your first round pick, which is fucking crazy, by the way. I mean, it's just fucking crazy to give up your first round pick to turn around and lose to the last place team the following week. I mean, it would be a fucking great story, and we're all rooting for it. So, but those are the matchups for this week. Let's see here. Anything else crazy to talk about? That's really it matchup wise. We're going to jump into Mandy's pick 6 here in a second. Let me pull those up here. A couple things. I want you to smash the money line on Browns Chargers. Jameis is obviously Jameis. My daughter is going to her first ever game without me, which is scary because I don't know that driving to Cleveland isn't that hard, but she gets like fucking freaked out over shit. So I'm a little worried about the drive for her. But she's going to be in the house all by herself, her first adult game, which is her and her boyfriend. So smash the money line. If the Browns lose, she will never go to another game again. So, all right, let's hop into Mandy's pick 6.
For all you D-gens out there, it's time for Mandy's 6-pack picks. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-DON'T-BE-A-PUSSY.
Okay, Mandy's pick 6. Shout out to Jeff Rowe for the fantastic intro. Always appreciate it, buddy. Love you for everything you do there. Very talented, very fun. She loved it, by the way. So a big winner there. So Mandy's pick 6 last week, not bad. She went 4-2, which obviously the parlay means you lose. But if you're looking at her record overall for the year, she's running about 70%. The problem is she picks games based off dumb shit. Like she picks the Seahawks on a regular basis because that's Dave Matthews' favorite team. Seahawks lost last week, by the way. So her 2 losses last week were the Jets and Seahawks. So those are 2 teams she will not pick for a while. That's how she is. So here's what she's got on the books for this week. She is taking, again, all money line. She's taking Ravens, Bills, Saints, Eagles, and Lions, and Chiefs. She's picked the Chiefs every single week, and they're undefeated. So she's running that hot. So those are her picks. They're all big favorites this week. It's not intentional. It's not like she was looking at the odds and said, hey, I'm taking all big favorites. Again, she picks them for just different reasons. But I think the payout on this one is, what was it? Plus 458. So 4.5 to 1. So it's not going to be a big hit for you. But follow her if you like. See if you can get some money. I need a win. I have her convinced, by the way. I was joking with her earlier, and I think next week, if I don't wait till the last minute, I'm going to get her on to do her picks live. She was willing to do it this week, but again, it's trick-or-treat night, and I waited till the last minute, and she can't do it. So next week, we'll try to get it live. But I've got her convinced that the reason my DraftKings account is a little low is not because she's lost. She's won two Mandy's pick 6s hit this year, but she's lost 6. So I'm like, hey, I keep losing money on you, but I got her convinced that the reason my DraftKings account is so low is because of Tyler and Eric and our parlays. So we're going to lean into that and see if I can get her to talk shit about you guys when I have her on the show next week. It's going to be fucking great. So, but yeah, Mandy's pick 6, put the bet in. 5, I dropped it to $5 because she keeps fucking losing. 5 will win you 28, so not horrible. But there you go if you want to do it. So other than that is everything for the week. Again, Jeff, thanks for the intros and everything. I appreciate it. Niall Strawser, fuck Straw. I don't care if you can call in if you want, but Niall and Tim, I would love to have you on next week to talk about your trade. I got to know the truth. And there's no wrong answer. You didn't do anything wrong. So I just want to make sure we're clear about that. But I want to know is, for integrity reasons, was it because you guys are buddies, you hooked each other up, or is it because you knew you can get Strawser to basically do anything? So that's what I want to know. So let me know if you're interested. But if not, until next time, keep it faux real, faux life.